Hello everyone, this is DZ Maven here, and it is time for another Gunpla review. And today I'm taking a look at the last of the 3 Gundam 00 real grades that exist, officially in the line. And this is the real grade 00 Quanta, Setsuna's final mobile suit used in the Gundam 00 movie Awakening of the Trailblazer. This kit came out last year. I picked it up pretty quickly after it first came out and put it together and everything, and I think it's a pretty neat kit. Probably not my favorite out of the Gundam 00 real grades, but it's still a pretty good kit overall here. So let's take a look at it here. So I got it here up on the display stand, which is almost kind of essential for this type of kit. So let's get it spinning around here so you can take a good look at it here. So I'm going to talk about the details and appearance of this kit overall first, as usual. Straight out of the box, this is a very, very good looking build of the 00 Quanta. Unlike some other kits I built, there really is no detail painting required anywhere, at least that I've noticed on it. So all the pieces and everything are molded in the colors they should be. You do get the traditional stickers with real grades. The ones on this kit really aren't too bad. It's not as heavy as it is on some other real grade kits here, and I think it's actually pretty well balanced out on the Quanta here. Probably the only ones that are kind of a bit of a pain in the ass, probably as I complained in some other reviews, are these little pinstriping stickers. They are kind of a bit of a pain in the ass to put on. Very hard to get them lined up properly sometimes, but I think I did an okay job with this kit from what I've seen. One interesting detail about this kit that really isn't apparently visible on it. You do get the standard MS joint frame with it. It uses the same one that the Exia and the Gundam 00 use, but in the Quanta's case, they actually give you a entirely new arms for this. They pretty much have to in order to replicate the round joint with the GN condenser in it. I think technically the Gundam 00 was supposed to have the same sort of elbows in it too, but they didn't go that far with that kit for some reason. So, but in the Quanta, I guess they kind of had to because it has the condensers are actually right in the elbow there. So that has been duplicated in the arms with the use of new inner frame parts for the arms on this, and they pretty much move around the same as the actual original frame did. So, and you do still have those extra parts from this kit when you built this, so you still have the leftover arm frames from this here. You can see it's right there, both of them, including an extra shoulder guard piece if you want it on the other arm for some reason. But yeah, overall appearance wise, I think this thing is pretty darn good. But yeah, overall it's actually really pretty good. There's really not much of anything for me to nitpick on it appearance wise, so I think it looks pretty great just straight out of the box here. I think the colors look good, and of course the stickers are fine, so I'm actually going to give this a 10 out of 10 on the appearance-wise, because there's really nothing I can really fault here on it. So, it looks great. That's it. Okay, so moving on to the next part of this is the articulation part. And I'll probably just do my usual and go from top to bottom here, but actually before I do that, I do want to make special mention of the shield binder that is on the shoulder here. This does articulate and move around pretty nicely here. There's a little hinge back there. It can go up and down a little bit here. Go over the shoulder if need to be, and it can fold all the way back for that GN drive here to kind of stick into the back of this GN drive here. It doesn't really stay in there, just kind of rest in there kind of, so it's not really going to be a perfect fit, but the binder here will open up pretty nicely here. This little top piece can open up like so. And each of these, see, I can do this without it falling apart here. No, it's going to come off. Yeah, this is what I was going to get to here. Is the connection force is not really that great, so it kind of falls off a little bit easily on mine. So I don't know if other people have that problem or not, but it doesn't like to stay on that little connection piece very well on mine. But I guess this is probably a little bit easier when it's off like this, so I can show you here how this opens up here. So you got all these little blades on here, but they do open up if need be for the sort of open attack mode, I guess, if you want it to look like that. So these will come out like so, and these will sort of stick out a little bit like this here, like that. So, and this came off here. Let me stick that back on. So you can kind of do something kind of like this here and open it up. So looks a little neat. I don't really know what the point of this is, but it looks kind of cool this way. So if you want to have it posed like that, you can. You can just close them back up if you need to. So just like that. And the like I said, the little GN drive down here can come out if you needed to, like so. It's a little hard to get into position when you have it on the back of the Gundam, but you can kind of get it into position kind of a little bit like this, like so. So pretty nice, and this little piece can bend up and down like so. I know doing so this little piece is connected to this top piece up here, so as you move this around, the top hinge will move around with it. So it's kind of a little bit of an annoyance, I would say, but it's not really a big deal. It's just sometimes when this is in a weird position or so, you can't really get this to close flush with the top of the binder shield very well. So it's just something you're just kind of have to deal with. And of course, the little side piece can fold up out of the way, and there's little tabs in here that fold in and everything for the all these little GN sword bits and everything. So, but it's a pretty neat contraption, pretty well engineered, I would say. I just kind of wish the connection up here was a little bit better, but maybe it's a case that's maybe it's better if this is a little loose instead of really on there strong. Otherwise, there's always a risk this might snap off, and then you wouldn't have a way to put this back on again, I guess. So it's a very interesting little accessory. Although I'm kind of talking about this in the articulation part because it moves around and everything. So, but anyway, that's enough for the shield binder here. Let's get to the actual Gundam here itself. And it's probably easier for me to demonstrate some things with the shield binder off anyway. So starting again at the head here, very nicely sculpted head. As you can see, really close range. It can move around, but there is a problem here. This a problem I've seen in some other kits here is that there's a back collar on here. If it gets caught in the yellow of that color a lot, and then the head falls right off. So okay, head is back on there again. So yeah, the problem I have here is that the head comes off way too easily on this kit. You can move it around a little bit and the head will just kind of come right off really easily. There is a little bit of joint in the neck, but again, you're probably not going to make much use of it because the head's just going to come right off as you're trying to position it correctly. So Bandai probably could have done better with that, put a little bit of a stronger connection in there, I would say. I think that would have been really helpful. So coming down to these arms here, like I mentioned, there is an entirely new arm frame in here, and it pretty much gives you about the same range of articulation as the regular MS joint arms. It won't do the full 90-degree bend because Gundam 00 designs like to have this weird connection plug right here, so it won't bend all the way. But you do get an additional joint here in the wrist, which kind of makes up for it a bit. So it can reach back a little bit if need be. Arm can come up about that far if you want it to. Of course, it can go up and around if need be. That's pretty standard. And shoulder wise, it can come out a little bit. Shoulder will come off pretty easily if you pull on this enough, or even this piece will come off on the side too if you pull on it. But it's not really that bad. So overall, arm articulation is pretty good, pretty standard for what I expect from a real grade kit. The shoulder and chest here is kind of interesting. Again, it's the same round design that's on the Exia, so it kind of has some of the same features here. This can actually rotate sideways pretty well, I would say. And there is a little bit of a joint inside of here as well, but it doesn't really do much, so I don't really bother with that too much. You do have a opening cockpit. It's really kind of hard to get to. This little bottom piece has to move a little bit, and it's not really easy to get to. And then this has to come out and come up. I have found this cockpit is really hard to open up properly, if I can get it with my fingers. It's supposed to slide out and slide up a little bit, but it's really hard to get to. So I can kind of work at it, or it just comes out like that. So It'll open up. You just kind of got to work at it a while. It's not really the best cockpit hatch design I've ever had to deal with. It's actually kind of a pain in the butt, so I'm not going to try and bother opening it for you here. Just you can look at my photos when I actually managed to get it open. So skirt armor. There is like no real front skirt armor. You do get this front crotch piece that can kind of rotate around like that, up and down just slightly. It's actually pretty nice because it doesn't really get in the way of the legs any. And the side skirts are pretty neat here because they don't really flip up so much, but they can just move back out of the way, which is really nice here. So they're kind of they're on a special joint so they can just kind of slide back out of the way, which is really, really neat. I like this. So they can slide out of the way pretty easily here. And the back skirt armor can move up and down a bit and rotate around just like the front skirt armor. It's not going to move around too much when I have it on the action base like this because it gets it's kind of locked in place the way it is when it's on the action base here. So when it's off of this here, you can kind of move it around a bit more. So moving on down to the legs, we get some pretty good range of articulation out of the legs here. Really nice here, I'd say. Double joint bend out the knee. Only this little piece here sticks out a little bit here. Kind of an odd look to it, but yeah, it works. And the knee will separate from the lower leg like so. So pretty nice here. You get this little flappy piece here. I guess that's a thruster or vernier or something. I'm not really sure what this is, but you get that right there. And down to the ankles and the feet here. Not much for ankle armor on this kit. In fact, it's hardly any. You get this little piece here which can move a little bit, but serves no purpose really. The feet on this are actually they're exactly the same as the Gundam 00's feet, but they don't have the ankle armor on them anymore, so you don't have to worry about the ankle armor falling off. So that's nice. And you still got the same toe design and foot down like so. So pretty good feet overall. So if you have them on the ground, you can do some pretty nice little poses as long as you can keep him balanced with his shield binder on him. So you can strike some pretty good poses here. Last thing I'll probably talk about on articulation here is the hands. The reason I'm talking about the hands is because you do get the new arm frame joint, but what's inside here now with the wrist is a plastic on plastic joint. So you have to be a little bit more careful with this. It's a little tighter fit, but plastic on plastic joint is a little bit more prone to wearing out, so you just have to be careful about that over time as you're switching hands around and everything. But it's still pretty solid here, and some of these have, I don't know if you can see it right there, they have a little peg on the end of the ball joint. You don't want to cut that off because that will actually, if you don't put the hand in all the way, and that just fell out of my hand. Yeah, okay. Yeah, try again here. So you don't want to put this in. Don't put it in all the way. You get a pretty nice range of articulation out of the hand. But if you put it in all the way, it'll kind of lock in place a little bit, and it won't move around as much anymore. Basically, they use that for the hand over here as well. When you have your GN sword in the hand to help keep it steady in the hand. So it's a pretty neat little trick. It's a lot like the trick they use with the Master Grade Gundam XX to lock the torso up. It's kind of the same thing. It doesn't really work quite as well on this, but it's the same sort of idea, so it's pretty neat. So, articulation-wise, I would give this guy an 8 out of 10. It probably would have been a 9 out of 10 had there not been so much issue with some parts falling off on this, or the head wouldn't fall off so easily, or the shield binder wouldn't fall off, but overall, it's still pretty good articulation-wise, so I'm pretty well impressed with it. So, okay, moving on to extras here. So I'm going to talk about the GN Sword 5 here first here. So you get a pretty nice clear green condenser blade for this. Pretty nice looking. Probably my only nitpick about this is we do have these little divots on the blade here, but those are mainly for the other GN Sword bits to kind of attach to it. They have to have some place to kind of grab onto it, so it just can't be a smooth blade. But I'm willing to give this a little bit of a pass because it's kind of necessary to have it this way. So, but other than that, the GN Sword 5, there's really not a whole lot to it. It's actually pretty basic looking. It's a lot more basic than the GN Sword 3 that the Gundam 00 Riser comes with. So as you can see, I got the holding hand is on here right now. It does kind of open up like so. You can hold it like a sword, like that if you need to, or bend that down and have it in the rifle mode if need be, like so, which doesn't look much different than the sword mode. So, but apparently it can still shoot this way. I don't know how it shoots like this, but it can somehow. Yeah, the other nitpick I have is that, as you can see here, it does have the little plug right here, but it doesn't really tend to actually stay in the plug on the arm on the 00 Quanta very well. So pretty much all of this is going to be held just by the hands here. So you can't really rely on this little thing to kind of give any meaningful support to the weapon. So kind of little disappointing that way if they couldn't have engineered this slightly better, but it is what it is, I guess. So I mean, it's a nice looking weapon. I can't really complain about too much except for that one bit here. So alright, so next thing is moving on to all these GN sword bits, and there's a bunch of them on here. There's 6 of them, to be honest. So I'm going to take them off one by one here. So this one is kind of just clipped on, just kind of pull it off like so. These ones here, they just kind of come off like so, along the sides, and last one comes off here. So, and while I've got them off of here, I'll show you how this thing kind of folds together here. These little hinges will fold in out of the way, like so, and then this little piece comes up like that, and you've got the shield binder in its non-GN sword bit mode. Neat. Cool. So, looking at the GN sword bits here, they can all be handheld by the 00 Quanta if need be. They have little handles that fold out, like so. And the large one here, combined one here, it can be held individually. Let me find the handle here. It's right here. It can be held individually with this handle here if need be, or it can come apart and they can be held separately if need be, like that. So they're pretty nice weapons. The handle on this large blade here can sometimes come out, I've noticed, pretty easily here, so you want to be a little careful with that and not break it. Actually, make sure I get that back in there correctly here. Yeah, like that. So they're all pretty nice weapons. It has no trouble holding these, and with this many sword bits and everything, there's actually a really huge amount of combinations of posing options with these, so they're actually really nice accessories, I would say. So not a whole lot to them, but they do look pretty cool. So I really like these. They're very versatile, I would say. So, and of course they will combine with the GN Sword 5 here. So let me put it together here real quick here. Alright, so getting this together on the GN Sword 5 here, I think you want to put these ones on first. They kind of clip on like that, or actually no, I think I gotta put the large ones on first is what I gotta do. And they go up pretty far, up around here on the blade. Take the other one here, stick it on, and again, that's what these little notches on the sword are for, so these can actually have something to clip onto. And there's actually a clip right there in the middle here, so these two will hook together up front. And then you put these ones on, the smaller ones on. They go right there. And once they are all on, you now have your GN 5 Buster Sword, I guess if that's what you want to call it here. So pretty nice looking weapon there. Now the 00 Quanta can sort of hold this, but I would not rely on the wrist alone being able to hold this up. So Bandai does helpfully give you the little helper stand that comes with this to help hold the large weapon up if you need to. It just kind of plugs into a little hole right here on the side of the GN Sword 5 here. So there's a little peg hole, and this will just kind of plug right into that if need be. And then it can help hold that up for you. Pretty neat. I think this is the first instance where Bandai provided the helper stand, because I have seen it in other kits since then. So I guess this is a pretty nice thing to have just to help hold this up here. So pretty cool. And you do have the Buster rifle mode for this, which is really not much to it. It's just these front pieces come out like so, and that's pretty much it. So, but you're definitely probably going to need a second hand to hold it up, or use the helper stand to hold this up while it's like this here, because this is again pretty heavy. So, but it's pretty neat here. So, pretty cool. And probably one of the last things obviously to talk about are hands. So you get the basic real grade hands with this kit, including a couple of fists, a couple of trigger holding hands, and you do get this open hand for the left hand, which is really nice here. So, couple other things here. I don't know if you can tell in that, but you do get this little hand adapter, which goes into the real grade hands, and basically this is just a way to stick the attachment plug into the real grade hands, so you can use that if you for some reason want to use the real grade hands on the weaponry. You have this little adapter plug, which is kind of pointless because I never really use the real grade hands for holding weapons anymore, so it's kind of no point to that. And the other thing you get is this little holding adapter for holding the GN Sword 5 on the skirt armor of the 00 Quantas. And yes, you can store the GN Sword 5 on the skirt armor if you need to for some reason. So you do have this little adapter for that. So. Oh, and last but not least, you do get your Setsuna figure with this kit here. It's just kind of... he's leaning back against air, however you want to imagine that. But, yep, there he is. So accessory-wise, I think we got a pretty good set of accessories that come with this kit here, so it's going to get a 9 out of 10 for me, so pretty good range of accessories to work with and pose with and do all sorts of crazy things with here, so pretty cool here. Alright, so let's talk about the value of this kit here. The real grade 00 Quanta, this came out in May of 2016, so it's a bit over a year old now. And this came out for 2,500 yen, which is about $21 in US retail. As always with exchange rates, you can always expect to pay a little bit more in the West, so don't take that price for exactly what it should be in the West, because it's always going to be marked up. So, but compared to other kits of the 00 Quanta that exist, there is a Master Grade from 2010, which is retailing for 4,500 yen, which is a pretty average price for a basic Master Grade. And the old high grade 00 from the same year, 2010, was going for 1,600 yen. So you can kind of take your pick from there of what version of the Gundam, the 00 Quanta that you want in kit form. So the real grade probably sits kind of right in the middle between those two. So I have heard some people have some problems with the shoulder binder on the Master Grade version. I haven't built it, so I really can't say for certain if there is a problem or not. But I can say on the real grade, it works out pretty well, except for that kind of a weak connection between the binder and the little connection piece on the back. That's really my only real issue here. But obviously, I think this is still a pretty good kit for that price here. So it's going to get a 10 out of 10 for me on the value score. So it's, I think for what you're paying here, you're getting a pretty sweet kit here. So that brings me to the end of this review here. So the real grade 00 Quanta is going to get a final score of 37 out of 40, making this still an extremely good Gunpla kit here. And if you're a fan of the 00 Quanta design or the real grade 00 Gundams in general, you will probably like this kit. It's actually pretty neat here, I'd say. It's very reminiscent of the Exia in some ways, and has a few elements from the 00 Riser in it, but not in that many. So, but I think overall it's a pretty good kit, and it's a pretty interesting build too, I would say, especially with all the new parts in the arms and everything, and all the it has a lot more GN condensers throughout it than the other Gundam 00 kits here. So, but that's pretty much going to be it for this review. I hope you found it informative and interesting and helpful in some way. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave them below. And if you want to see more, be sure to subscribe and leave a like for me. Alright guys, that's going to be it for this review. I hope to get on my next one soon here, and hopefully there won't be too much more delay on any other videos in the future here. So anyway, I hope you guys have a great day, and I will catch you all next time. Bye bye.